Hello, Nina and Lars. Thanks for accepting to do this chat online. First of all, how are you? How life is going in Berlin with COVID-19? Or without, or less?
Well, yesterday for the second time I went out and met a friend. And you sometimes, when you walk the streets, you think everything's back to normal. And then you go into shops and you have to wear the mask. That's when you go, okay, we're not quite there yet. And of course we aren't. And so it's a mixture of a weird, am I staying at home and everyone else is out there? Is it real, or is it a dream? Or you know, it's a bizarre time, I feel.
And Lars?
Yeah, I think actually my situation or our situation has a lot to do with the situation of Sven in the movie Schwesterlein.
Mm-hmm.
I have the feeling we have to face the fact that we have a sick planet, and we have to deal with it. And if I would be in the situation of the planet, I have to, or in our situation, we have to think about what we should change. So when I'm sick, I think about, okay, what do I have to change to become healthy again? And in a way, maybe this is the only positive aspect, that we now it's very concrete that there's a disease. And yesterday this quote of Shakespeare came to my mind: something's rotten, you know. And I think it's really important that we face the fact that something's rotten and we have to change it. So last week, Juliette Binoche wrote me a letter that she wants to, or 2 weeks ago, that they want to publish a letter in Le Monde where they force the politics, or they force ourselves not to go back to normal. So not to go back to the situation we had before. And yeah, this is something I think every one of us has to ask themselves: what can I change? What can I change? And even if it first appears as tiny things, like, or I don't know, maybe it's not tiny, but I think I should fly less. I should stop eating so much meat. I should stop using so much plastic. Things like this, I have to start in my life, in my situation.
Definitely. I completely agree. Since the beginning, you know, I'm thinking is that the world is so much better without humans. Now that we are at home, everything is going well, you know, like the nature, the sea, the air, everything is cleaner, everything is better. And really, we do harm the world horribly, horribly. So I definitely agree. We should do something at one point. I mean, it's too late, but we should.
No, I have to, because I think that is, of course, also, that is true, and I enjoy that very much. But there are just a lot of people suffering because they don't know how to make ends meet, you know. Mm-hmm. So I agree, we have to change the way we've done things so far, which is mainly this idea of growing, and you don't know from whom, who sees any of this growth. But we must change, but together with the people that are right now keeping this place running, you know. I mean, it's not, everyone says it, but it's the truth. It's the people that you oversee very easily, the ones that clean up behind you, the ones that take care of you, you know, when you're sick. So yes, it's nice that the planet changes and that everything is more green, and you feel, and you actually, I think I feel that everything breathes. It's much calmer. There are no airplanes above Berlin, for example. Everything is much quieter, but there are people suffering also, you know. So it's going to be a big challenge for all of us. And I love that people start protesting and saying, well, if we go back, we can't just deny that we were sick, and we need to make sure that we change things so that doesn't happen anymore.
Okay. Okay, so you are friends from school, I think. You did the same dramatic school in Germany, and then you were both in Deutsches Theater at the beginning. Were you
Yes, and
good friends?
actually we were also classmates. So it's not
okay,
only that we
classmates.
went
Okay.
to the same school, so we were
okay.
classmates.
So were you good friends back at school? And did you do together theater when you were at school, or right after the school?
No, we did the last. How do you call it, Lars? Is it like the exam that you do at the end of the?
At the end, okay.
What's called studio production? No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Studio production is like where you have to do one play basically, where you endure the whole evening, and that's what we did together. Was Happy End from Brecht, and we went. Lars was already back then doing music, DJing, so he did always our parties in school. So it's not a new thing. If anyone thinks he reinvented himself, he was that already back then. So
and after the last play of the school, did you do theater together in the same play?
No, that's when we kind of our paths parted. But at least I always knew what he was doing. We were very close in a sense because we were all in Berlin still, you know, so we knew what each other one was doing, but we were not at the same theater.
Yeah, but it took, I mean, what I read, Lars, at one point you were at Schaubühne. It took you, Nina, like 15 years to go to Schaubühne.
Yes.
You were happy in Deutsches Theater, and then you changed at the end. How did you change? Why did you go to Schaubühne at the end?
It was because I had a connection to the gang, you know. I mean, I knew Thomas Ostermeier like Lars from back in the days in school. He because Thomas was also at the Ansbusch acting class, which is also a theater school for directors. And at the time when the Schaubühne thing started, it didn't seem the right fit for me because I was already shooting. And it was the idea which I loved, but I just wasn't ready to do that at the time. That you just put all your power and strength and energy into the ensemble of the Schaubühne, which meant that you're not able to shoot. And I just couldn't do that. And then somehow, you know how life is, and then you're somewhere and you still keep working. But I always knew I wanted to work with Thomas again at a certain point, and that's how we had left it. And it took 15 years.
Yeah.
But I think this is also a trump or the quality of our movie, that we meet each other after such a long time. So we know each other since over 20 years, but we never really acted it out. So there's a connection, but that was the first time where we could deal with it. So and this is something which you can see in the movie, that two people like brother and sister, people who have a deeper connection, and they don't have to show it all the time, because I think this is the most difficult thing in movies, when two actors meet and then you have to pretend that you are maybe mother and son or brother and sister. It's hard that people from the outside believe in it. So it's and I think for us it was a bit more easy because we have this long time relationship or connection. And the other thing is when we started, Nina was already kind of let's say celebrity, or she was famous, or she was popular. She did her first movie right before we started to study. And I remember that when I first saw her on stage as a student, I thought she's light years away from what I can achieve in my lifetime. And I think all the others had the same impression, and maybe it's still a bit like this, that Nina is really advanced in what she can show and what she can deliver in front of a camera. She's really artistically, she's really a single or an outstanding phenomenon. And I was so touched when I saw the movie for the first time, because I knew the script and everything, but there was a moment where Veronique, Stephanie, the two directors, and Nina, we met and we watched the movie in the cinema, just us four. And I was so impressed and touched by what Nina was showing, because in our time where it's so much, and I think this is especially a reason why it's nice to discuss and watch the movie in Istanbul, in our times where the role or the position of the woman is changing so much. It's interesting to see or to give a woman a platform where she can show herself in her complexity. And this is something Nina is so good in showing the diversity and the ambivalence and the complexity of a woman in our society. And that's really touching. And of course, this is a great achievement of the directors Veronique and Stephanie to write a script and to give her this platform to show it.
Definitely, I definitely agree. and yeah, I wanted to ask you at the same thing, Nina. When so you did 6 films with Christian Petzold. That's how we started to know you in Turkey, anyway. But your last 3 films are with women directors. Mm-hmm. So what do you think of the situation of the women in the film industry today? And as Lars said, there are lots of stories now with women, with really that interesting for women, the stories that are interesting for women. And you think that female directors are writing or directing better these kind of stories?
I don't know if better or...
I mean, if it's an important issue for you or not. Maybe not, maybe you don't care.
No, it's not, but I must say, I found it, what's happening and what I find as an actress very interesting right now is to see that directors and female authors start finding their own voice, which might not be the male perspective onto a woman, which I also like, that's not I don't want to play out one against the other. It's just that I have the feeling it is, as Lars said, I think he described it very well, it's very complex. And because they know it, they leave it in this complexity, which is sometimes hard to understand, but it's the truth. And it's interesting, and it can be exciting, and it can be touching, and and thought-provoking. So that I find encouraging, that you feel that I think these voices were out there, but they finally find the money that they can do these films. I'm sure they were all written, but they were not made. And so that's kind of happening, that the financiers also believe in these films, believe in female main characters that can carry the film, and people want to see it, men and women. That is something that is just a little flower that's starting, and who knows what's going to happen now after all this, because we're all on a hold. But that was very encouraging. But I also must say, I read a lot of stuff that goes into the other direction again as well. So it's still something you need to fight for, that these things are being made.
Okay, thank you. And Lars, you in the movie in Schwesterlein, you are playing a part that makes reference directly to you as a theater actor. How did it feel, and how did you prepare the part?
Yeah, I was skeptical in the beginning, because I think you have a kind of responsibility when you show your world, more maybe than when you show something which is strange or nobody knows about it. So I think we had the aim to do it like it is in theater. which I don't know if it actually worked, because, for example, Thomas Ostermeier, our artistic director, he plays kind of himself too, the director of Sven, my character. And when you listen to him speaking on the rehearsal, you realize it's very difficult to really capture the atmosphere of a rehearsal in a movie. It's like when you go in a club in a movie, when you see people clubbing, dancing, and I never saw it in a movie that it reminds me of my experience of an evening or a night in a club. That seems to be something that you cannot show in fiction. And yeah, maybe it's also okay because it's a movie, you know, it's a piece of art, and it can be, it doesn't have to be on the first hand realistic. Yeah, but on the other hand, it helped me, I think, to get into it because the reference was so obvious to my personality and to my needs and to my desires and everything that was helpful. And I also think that this is something I always try to find whenever I do something, whatever it is, even if I play somebody living on Mars, someone living on Mars, or I have to find a connection. I have to find something that I, or an aspect that is in me. So something that reminds me of myself, something I can rely on, or I can identify with. This is the way I work. And of course, if it plays in a theater context, it's easier.
I mean, it's a bit personal as question maybe, but if when like personal problems wait in your professional life, you know, in the film, Nina, your character is more blocked, you know, in the movie, and she wants to write a play for his brother. And Lars, you want to be on stage since the last until the last moment. Really, you want to be on stage. You want to be seen until the last moment. Did you have a certain empathy with your characters in the movie?
Of course, the whole subject, it's about dying. It's about living, and it sounds simple or banal, but this is the most essential thing. So, and this is of course why they chose Hamlet to show it in this movie, and to be or not to be. And I always love the aspect in Shakespearean dramas that in a lot of situations the characters say things like, maybe I'm just an actor. In Romeo and Juliet, at the end, before she drinks the poison, she says, maybe I'm just a protagonist in my own play. And I love the fact that the author allows the characters to have this awareness. Maybe we are just like playing, and that also describes the fact that maybe it's wrong to make this to make a difference between reality and fiction. I really, as an artist, I really believe in the truth of fiction. So for me, fiction, I never understand when people say, as an actor, you have to lie. So for me, it's completely the opposite. For an actor, I have to be truthful the whole time. This is what it's about. It's about the truth, even if it's played. But maybe when I go into the fictional dimension, I'm more truthful to myself than I am in reality. Sometimes I feel it's much more difficult for me in real life or in daily life to be truthful. On stage, I can really be truthful to my emotions. I can really be expressive in a way that maybe I don't allow myself to be in reality. And this aspect is in Shakespearean dramas, also when Hamlet plays theater, or when there's a theater play in theater. And this is also what is Sven conflict in our movie Schwesterlein, that being artistically creative, being on a stage means for him to live. And yeah, this is also what Nina's character understands.
Yeah, and what she, Lisa, for the past 10 years or 8 years or so, she managed to convince herself that she doesn't need that aspect in her life. And by having her brother again around her, which is they don't even have to speak much, they just understand each other, and he doesn't have to push her directly, but I think he's the one person that she trusts the most, that she maybe also loves the most. It's just someone who can be very truthful and frank towards her. And by him having to let go of this expression in art, he kind of gives it to her and says, I can only go if you find your voice again, so it's like how do you say, Staffellauf, you give something to the other person so that person can survive, and give her strength by finding herself again. And that is to me also and I can totally relate to that. There are people in your life that, and if you think of having to lose them, or you lost them, so then I can completely relate and understand what this process is, of also learning to having to let go. And but that sometimes strangely gives you a lot of strength to go forward, because you are confronted with your own mortality, and you kind of look at your life and you go, okay, what do I really want to do? Where did I convince myself the lie is truth? And that's the process that Lisa goes through.
Okay. And you both have a very balanced acting in a very melodramatic subject. How did you draw the line? It was like this since the beginning in the movie. That's how the directors wanted to do it.
I think it's already in the script. It's very funny. The characters are very well described, and it's always about this. I don't know if I should call it black humor, but yeah, they make fun about of the situation, which is, I think, very, very important. I mean,
yes,
always.
We could have cried from the beginning till the end with a subject like this, but we don't.
Yeah, but then you can't watch it.
yeah, exactly.
And you can't live. It's also not truthful, I think, because the counter reaction is to make the sadness light. And through, I also personally, as a viewer, I find it much more touching if I see people that nevertheless, find humor in what's happening, because you are much more aware of what they're about to lose. If you see someone completely devastated the whole time, you get it, but that's not interesting. Interesting is the fight or the struggle, and that can be sometimes exactly very, very funny. Your hair looks very good.
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, already when I will quote it, it feels strange to me, but I remember when I read a script about the Holocaust, and there was a line where two Jews talked to each other, and one Jew said to the other, "We never laughed as much as in the concentration camp." And I mean, already when I say it, it feels wrong or whatever, but I think there's a truth in this line. Yeah, I'm difficult to translate it, but the Karl Valentin, which was a great comedian in Germany, it said that his last words were, mein ganzes Leben lang hatte ich Angst vor dem Tod und jetzt das. So my whole life long I was afraid of death, and now this. So this is his last words. And it's the same with Hamlet, who says at the end, the rest is silence, which is a big thing in Germany. We are used to the wrong translation. The translation in Germany is mostly der Rest ist Schweigen, which means that they are human beings and they don't say anything. So you need somebody to schweigen. You know, for silence you do not need anybody. So silence is something that exists without human beings, and I think this is something, a very beautiful image for death, that it's not somebody not saying something, so it's nothing in a beautiful way, because it's also peace, or it's something, maybe something we are longing for our whole lives, something to, maybe this is why rest in peace is a good, I hate rest in peace. I hate it. I hate it. Whenever on Instagram or whatever, when somebody's dying and then they write, not even rest in peace, they write R.I.P.
Yeah.
I mean, if I die, please take the time to write the whole sentence. You know, to make the dots like R.I.P. It's really, please. When I die, write rest in peace. You know, not the Abkürzung.
Okay. How this project came to you, the Schwesterlein? Since the beginning, you were both involved, or one before the other, or how did it go? And also Schaubühne, the rest of the thing.
I think I was involved before, as far as I know. Which it's kind of a long story, but also very unusual, because the two directors were at the Berlinale, I think 5 years ago. And so they were in Berlin, just watching films and, you know, making connections and so on. And so the two directors saw me in a shop in Berlin. I was just getting a present for a friend of mine. And I remember I saw these two women going past the window, you know, and chatting and looking at me, and I thought, oh my God, okay. And now they found me, and okay. And then they came in, and I was like, okay. And then they came up to me, and then they said, but we're so sorry, normally we don't do this, but are you the one who played Barbara, which is a film that I did with Christian Petzold? And they said, it's bizarre, but we are just right now writing on something, and we have you in mind. And we can't just not say something when we see you here by accident. And if I would like to have a coffee. And I thought, well, that doesn't happen too often, you know. And I thought, yeah, okay, why not a coffee? That doesn't harm. Let's have a coffee. And this coffee, where I thought it might last a half an hour, it went on for 5 hours or so. You know, we had a lot to say to each other, and just understood each other very well. And I loved what they were working on. But then it took 5 years really to get it off the ground. And also in the beginning, it was not clear that there was the Schaubühne or anything involved. That just came by them coming more often to Berlin, by watching a lot of plays by Lars, also meeting Thomas in Lausanne. I think Lars also was in Lausanne with a guest performance. And so somehow it just happened naturally. And they took the time to just make it right and find. Then Lars has to tell his story, how he met them. But it was very unusual, because it was not, here's a script, we really would like you to play it. I was pretty much involved from a very early moment on.
And Lars?
It's also very unusual to take a look at their relation. So, because usually you don't see the directors, of course, in a movie, but they, as a couple, they are very impressive. Veronique and Stephanie, they know each other since they were children, and they really emerged. So it's really a symbiosis. They are like one brain, which is really beautiful to watch, because they of course they still both have their own personality, but they really work together in a perfect way. When they give you advices after you were shooting a scene, they stand next to each other. One is talking and the other is listening or whatever. I've never met two people being so close to each other without it. This is also, I think, kind of interesting, maybe even feministic thing, that there's no fight between them. There's no conflict. They really, there's so much respect to the other and so much love and everything that they together become something which is, in a way, the image for art in general. They together become something which is bigger than the sum of both of them. So they are creating a third character which is directing us, and that is very beautiful to see. And this is, of course, also in the movie, in the relation of twins, that there's the connection of the twins creates something which is bigger than they are. And I knew them for a long time, because we used to travel a lot with the Schaubühne, and we played a lot of times in Lausanne, and I had dinner with Veronique and Stephanie, and I knew that they were directors, but it was more that we were like friends, or they never told me they are planning to do something with me. So that came out of the blue, that they sent me the script and said, "Oh, this is something we want you to do with Nina." And like Nina said, it took them a long time. Nobody was really interested in it. It was very difficult for them to find, how you say, contributors and producers. Very difficult, because they always the argument was, nobody is really interested in the theater world, and it's too much about theater. And it was hard, and I think that was also so beautiful and such a triumph that we were running in the Berlinale and now in Istanbul, that people see there is an interest in this kind of movie and in this world, which a lot of people denied in the beginning.
Yeah,
and the fact that you were in it brought also Ostermeyer in it.
No. They knew Thomas the longest time. They were really friends. Okay. Thomas, Veronique, and Stephanie, they are really close friends for a long time. No, whenever I had dinner with them, it was because of Thomas. So it was like we sit together after a performance in Switzerland, and Veronique and Stephanie, they are there because they are friends from Thomas. Yeah.
Okay. So we will finish soon, I think, because we're talking since, I think, 40 minutes. Who are the actors that inspires you the most? Old ones, new ones in your life? I mean, in general.
I mean, I have a lot of actresses that I could name, but I picked the ones that influenced me the most when I started, actually. And I still go back to them once in a while, which is Gina Rowlands, it's Ingrid Thulin, and it's Romy Schneider.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. They're all very different in their style, and but they look for the truth and they don't shy away. But also they know what they're doing, and so in a way they're strangely also craftsmen and women, but they let everything shine through. They let you in. They're like, it's the saying, the window. Their eyes are the window to their soul. So they have something very hurt and vulnerable, and it results into a strength that they show, and they're daring. So that is, to me, always something I strive for. These three.
And Lars?
For me, it's Nina Hoss.
Yes, of course.
Because she's independent, and she's not vain in a destructive way. she has vanity, but not her first. Or she's so much interested in the story, or this is something her biggest need is to tell the story and not to show up or whatever. But male actors, there are so many I love. I mean, my biggest love from the beginning was Marlon Brando, then Gérard Depardieu. Now it's, I think, in the moment, Leonardo DiCaprio is my favorite actor in our times, I think, because what I love is that they have this animal aspect, so that they have a way to play which is difficult to describe for me in English. In German we say gestalten, so it's, you have a scene and then you think about how to create the scene, how to find the right images to. And what I feel when I see them playing is that they, in the first moment, they try to be as playful as possible. So they try to find the truth in something which doesn't follow or which is not controlled. So when you see Leonardo DiCaprio, when you see Gérard Depardieu in the movie with Isabelle Huppert, it's a woman's name. What is it?
Which one?
You know Nina?
Nee, I think mit Gérard and Isabelle.
Isabelle Huppert, very, very early movie. Oh.
Violette Nozière?
No,
Maybe
it's something.
Not. It's a
Lulu or something like this.
Lulu, yes.
Oh, yeah,
yes,
Lulu.
yes. They have
and
Lulu,
you see Depardieu acting. It's like what I did with my hair. Like suddenly everybody's looking at him because you don't know what he's doing. Something like an animal. You know, he's not in control, or it's not that. I think one of the biggest problems is that everything in art or in films and movie is so structured. It's following a kind of logic, and there's no logic in life. I mean, it's something that we are longing for, but we will not find any logic. It's not about mathematics, and this is why I love the Brecht quote so much when he says, like, if you want to see something logical, you have to go to the toilet. But art is not logic, and this is something that I see when I'm fascinated by an actor. I don't get what he's doing. I don't get it. I'm just fascinated. It's like something mystical in a good way. So he doesn't explain me the world, because you cannot explain the world. So and this is something I try to do. So this is something I try to force myself to go in a scene without knowing what is going to happen. To go and there's this one moment in our movie Schwesterlein where Sven is afraid to die, and if you try to understand what's going on with somebody who's afraid of death, you cannot understand it. You cannot, because we don't know what death is. We even don't know what life is. So how could I show something like this? How can I make somebody watching me understanding something? You know, there's nothing to understand. It's just the braveness or the courage to go into it without knowing what it is. And this is something I'm interested in.
When you were talking about Gérard Depardieu, did you see it's one of his last movies, I think. He did a movie with Guillaume Niclou called The End. Have you seen it? It's incredible. It's a movie. He's in a forest alone in the whole movie. There's one other actor come and goes, but he's all alone in the forest, and he's very fat in the movie. You know, it's the time he's really put on weight, and he's sweating and everything, and he's like, as you said, he has this animal thing, and he acts incredibly well. You know, you can't even imagine. You say, I mean, oh my God, he's very sweaty and fat, and you know, he's very difficult to move, but he's incredible because there's this thing in him, you know. since long time, but even now it's crazy, you know, that an actor has this animosity in him.
Yeah, my haircut is inspired by Depardieu.
Exactly. Okay, so last question. I'm asking this to everybody. What do you watch these days on TV or video or whatever?
I've been watching a lot.
Is a series that you like, or a movie or something?
Well, we started to watch again the Tarantino movies, which I can only recommend, like Django. Unchained, exactly. Unchained, and then we watched The Big Lebowski again. It kind of, I had fun in re-watching films, you know, and seeing them in a different context somehow. And series-wise, can't remember. I always, when I get asked this question, once I'm hanging up, I can tell you all the series. Maybe Lars answers quickly.
I'm not a big cineast, or I'm not watching so many movies. I mean, now the situation is different. We are 3 people in my house, in our household. My daughter, she's 13, my wife, and so the interests are not always the same. My daughter was watching Dance Academy, and now she's watching Wendy, which is really shit, but she likes it.
Okay.
In the beginning we were watching Malcolm in the Middle all together. That was funny. Then I saw several documentaries. I saw a documentary about Christoph Schlingensief, which is really, I mean, the documentary is okay, but yeah, of course, him as a person, that is really interesting to watch. I watched the Netflix documentary about Kubrick. Yeah, I like watching documentaries, I think. But actually, I also saw the latest Tarantino movie, which I missed in cinema, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which was great to watch. Yeah.
I remember one other film, The Assistant, with Julia Garner, which I really enjoyed. That was something I didn't really know what to expect. And that is really, that nothing much is said and you understand everything.
That was the movie which was in Berlin this year, The Assistant?
I actually don't know. It's about the Weinstein.
Yes.
But he never appears. It's more about the power play that plays off in the ranks below someone like that, and how difficult it is to steer through all this bullshit. Yeah, and that is amazingly done. And she's a fantastic actress. Actually, also a series I now remember. I started remembering when I saw Ozark, where she plays Julia Garner is her name. An incredible actress. Very, very, really looking forward to what she comes up with. And Ozark is a fantastic series as well. I can recommend it.
I had it's like a fun fact or nice story, because I think it was last year, maybe it was 2 years ago. I think it was last year. I had a very bizarre experience because I had 1 or 2 shooting days with Tim Burton for Dumbo. Mm-hmm. And it was we shot in London in the studios where they shoot Star Wars and everything. And of course, the whole atmosphere, the studio is so bizarre because everything is green screen. So you are standing there. The elephants, they were just like guys in green morph suits, but all these very, very big celebrities like Danny DeVito, I had my scene with Danny DeVito actually, and he was so friendly and funny and open-minded, and Colin Farrell, who entered the makeup trailer, and the first thing he said, like, "Hi Lars," which was really impressive, because this is something I would never do this in Germany. I would never take my time in the morning to look on the schedule. Okay, who's there, and like no name with a small part, but actually he did it. Like he entered the trailer and said, "Hi Lars," and then I was standing next to him in the scene, and he was telling me the whole time long of a movie that he loved so much. I didn't know the movie. He said Turkish director, Turkish actors, shot in Germany. Okay, and then it came to my Gegen die Wand. I forgot the English title, but he was always saying the English title, Fatih Akin, and that I really liked the situation, like being on a Tim Burton set with people in green morph suits and Colin Farrell, somebody who I just know out of cinemas, standing next to me and telling me the whole time that this is the greatest movie I've ever seen. Gegen die Wand from Fatih Akin.
It's Head On. In the English name is Head On.
Head On.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He always said like Head On. I don't know this movie. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Great. So thank you very much to be here today for the online chat. So Lars, you were in Istanbul before. We saw you. You came with Şahbüne.
Yeah, I love it so much. I miss it so badly.
It was wonderful.
The last time was quit, because of the political situation. I tell you, I was really fighting that we go, but we at the end we asked all the people, like technicians, everybody, and there were too much people of us in our group who said it's too risky to go to Turkey, which I think it was a big mistake, really. We should have gone, because usually you always ask yourself, what can you have as an influence on society when you do art, when you do theater? And that was our chance to have influence, to go to Turkey, to share art, theater with the people who love art and theater. And I know that there are so many creative, beautiful people in Istanbul, because I've been there several times, and so we didn't go, and it's a shame that also now, because of Corona, I think otherwise we would have come to the festival, and well, it's a shame.
It will pass at one point, and Nina, if you come, it will be the first time. But both of you, you are expected in Istanbul anyway, for theater or for cinema.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for showing the film in your festival.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.